one of my biggest goals for this year has been to really just kick off like my health journey. So I knew I wanted to bring on people that we can have like conversations about. Obviously, we talk about mental health a lot on this podcast, but over just our overall health, I just think it's so important. And like I said, I have been struggling with my health so much, specifically my gut health. But I do believe that everything is interconnected. And before we just like get into it, I'm so ready to talk about all these things. So many things. We have literally been going off for like the last like 30 minutes since you got here. Yes. Everybody welcome Gianna onto the podcast.
Hi.
Gianna.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here. I think we've been talking about this since like
For a few months.
yeah, like since Alex's wedding.
For sure. Yeah. Like in June, which is like 6 months. But I live out of state. So it's so great that I was able to just come and see you in South Florida. I'm more my hometown. So it worked out perfectly.
Literally perfect.
Oh, it's so good.
Gianna, I met her, like I said, at a wedding at Alex's wedding in Wyoming. So we met not even here, which is funny.
I know. We literally met across the country.
Yeah.
And connected from there.
Yeah.
Your talent is just stunning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Of course.
I mean, you are really awesome too at what you do. Like,
Thank you.
so tell us a little bit more about like what it is exactly that you do
Yeah.
and maybe like how you got into it. Give us a little backstory.
Yeah. So I'm a clinical nutritionist and I specialize in autoimmune health. And I help women who have been dealing with autoimmune symptoms live a more vibrant life in a way that makes them feel like them again. And the way that I got into this was through my own health journey. I was diagnosed with scleroderma, linear morphitis scleroderma, which is a connective tissue autoimmune disease. Super rare if you don't know what it is. At 12 years old. And I really navigated that condition for 12 years. So all throughout my adolescence into my early 20s until I broke from mentally, right, emotionally and physically from the condition. And I started a health journey. And I started a health journey in a pretty unique way. And I think that's what eventually led me to remission. Now I'm 7 years in remission with scleroderma. Yeah.
Wow. I can't even imagine going through something like that as a 12-year.
Yeah, it's
Like,
wild.
what were your symptoms? Like what was happening throughout like that time?
Yeah. So with linear morphia, it's a very visual condition. And what I mean by that is that there's actually hyperpigmented lesions that come on the body that look like burns or bruises. And so as a 12-year-old girl, right, that is like really intense.
Yeah.
Especially at 12 years old, you're like finding your identity socially at school. And so to deal with looks
at that time matters so much.
for
Like,
sure.
everybody bullies each other. Like
Yeah,
you're trying to be the girl.
yes, 100%. I did get bullied by it because it was noticeable. And so I really navigated and almost self-coped in a lot of ways with being a sick child at home. That changed dynamics. And then perceiving myself as sick, which I was at school, which changed things. So there really was a physical experience and also an emotional one. And it's crazy because I almost remember the emotional one more like vividly than the physical one. Of course, there was some body aches, the hyperpigmented lesions, but what I think traumatized me the most was how my life changed on an emotional level, which is crazy.
Yeah. And then that like affects like relationship with like parents at all if it did, like how was all of that?
So the beginning of my journey with scleroderma was very uncertain. So they didn't know what I had. So as a 12-year-old, when you hear doctors talk about potentially terminal conditions, and watching your parents react to that, it's something that changes your brain. And so I think as a 12-year-old, right, you're like looking to your parents, like, are we good? Like, this is obviously not the common cold, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be serious doctors. And so that dynamic changed once they realized that this was a serious condition. I saw their reaction. And so that naturally changed our relationship. I think the feeling of being like, oh my gosh, I'm not okay, and how that impacted my parents, knowing that I was not okay, that's what really changed the most, in my opinion. So it was wild. And so that's really where I think my mental health journey started. And I think that that's where, fast forward to my early 20s, I think that the most brilliant thing that I did almost subconsciously was I considered that. I considered my mental health at the forefront of my autoimmune health journey. And that's what allowed that sustainability for me to continue it until the remission.
Yeah. So what could you like look back and have like a defining moment where you're just like, I need to change my life, or I'm gonna change I'm gonna heal myself.
Yeah. Oh,
Can you like look back and remember?
yeah. Oh, for sure. So, this is a little bit of a spiritual type of scene. Okay, cool. So, awesome. Awesome. So I was 22 at the time, about to turn 23, and I was working 2 jobs, just to kind of paint the picture of what that stress level looked like. I was working 2 jobs full-time in college at University of Florida. And there was a moment in time where I looked at the mirror waking up in the morning and I didn't recognize myself. And I realized, and if you have an autoimmune condition, if you've had it for a really long time and you've been battling with the symptoms and the daily grind of what that looks like. When you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself, it means that like you are the condition. And there was some
Identified as
yeah,
I've become it.
I've become it.
Like Gianna no longer exists. Gianna is the condition.
Exactly. That is my existence. And in that moment, I no longer saw like a warrior, and I cracked. And in that moment, the lesion started coming onto my arms. And so that was a lot for me. And so that night, I was just like, to be honest, kind of just like a trigger warning, I just lost a lot of hope in like the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
As
I think most people would.
yeah, like I just felt like my life was going downhill. I was 22 years old. I didn't even finish college yet, and my life was very quickly going to a place that I didn't want to go to, and I felt out of control with it. And so in that moment, the only thing I thought of was like reaching out to God, and I'm like, I don't know if you're real. Like, please give me a life worth fighting for, and I'll serve you for the rest of my life. And I was like sobbing on my knees. And like there was this moment of, I can only describe it as like a spiritual hug of like release. And that release gave so much peace. And in that moment, I like like seeing like a vision almost with my third eye, silent vines and fruit and flowers. And it was like almost my soul was like, you need to support your health naturally. It was the most surreal thing I'd ever experienced. And in that moment, I don't know if I thought, in that moment, in that moment, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm fighting for my health in a new way. And what I think was so miraculous about that night was that I started that day feeling like my life was going to a dead end. And I ended that night being like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to live a better life for it. And in serendipity, like so many things happened. Like I met an herbalist and she's like, yes, you can do this. And it was almost like God just started weaving things.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely. But when I made that decision to start it, I said, I'm not, because I had a really bad relationship with food at the time. Because again, when you have a physical condition, you feel like that. I also had really bad conditions, but morphine kind of took center stage, right? So the fact that I was like painfully constipated was like, whatever, you know? And that's the thing about gut issues.
Some of my worries.
Yeah, that's the thing about gut issues. They just so naturally fall under the radar until they don't. But when they come out, they're like fierce and they're all consuming. And so that's where I was like, I need to support my digestion. And that's all I knew at the time because gut health wasn't a thing. And I was like, but I am not going on a restrictive diet. I'm not sacrificing my mental health for the sake of being quote unquote healthy. It's the smartest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I think that decision ultimately led to that brick by brick mentality that led eventually to remission in 2015.
Wow. So walk us through that a little more. Like, how did you come to that point, and how did you like navigate that? How did you like figure out what's good for you, what works for you?
Yeah.
Like what was your blueprint?
Yeah. So two things that I think are important to uh, identify is I had people in my corner. Like day 3 of an herbalist. Her name was Augur. We still are in touch to this day. And she was in my corner the entire time. So I did a lot of things intuitively. I also had somebody who was smarter than me and more talented than me, and then who experienced it for herself in my corner as a resource. I didn't lean on Google. I leaned on an expert.
Yeah.
And so when I took action, at the time, right, I didn't have a lot of money. So I couldn't buy all these like really expensive organic items. And so what I started off with is like, I'm going to add in nourishment. And so I started off with going to Trader Joe's because the produce is the best bang for your buck there. I don't think that the Aldi's was around at the time, but anyways, so I started off with picking out like 2 produce items a week.
Okay.
And adding those into my meals. And I started off with blackberries and then like squash, zucchini. And over time, right, I started to diversify my diet. Once I did that, I started to actually realize what foods allowed me to feel better. And so there's a mindfulness component to that. I have a method actually that I work with my clients that helps people realize like, how do they feel emotionally after their meal? How's their energy? How do they feel physically? How long does it take for them to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Right.
And guys, because these are things that are everyday things, and then we don't even think, like you just saying that, I don't ever think about these things.
Yes.
I don't ever like eat something and I'm like, how did that make me feel?
Yes.
Being in tune with yourself and your body and like,
Yeah.
gaining your power back. It makes me think of like that defining moment for you where it's like you got your power back, you recognize like, I am in control.
Yeah.
I am in charge of like this life and this vessel, and like I have the power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have that daily, but we just don't have it to.
For sure. It's so much more simple. It's often almost disregarded.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's too easy. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right. It's the very thing we have to do. And our mental health plays a huge role. If we convince ourselves that that's not worth it, our brains can be like, okay, cool. What do we have to do?
Yeah.
And it's likely we're going to make it harder on ourselves to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I did. I worked with an herbalist. I got on things like superfoods. I got on omega-3 supplements, things like primrose oil, things that honestly people still don't talk about to this day.
Yeah.
Things like now spirulina, chlorella, these super greens that are kind of front stage in wellness culture right now. And then I started practicing these mindful, intuitive practices around food. Don't get me wrong, there was food intolerance there.
Yeah.
Eventually I worked with a functional medicine doctor to help me kind of figure out what that looks like. And that's where nutrition and then that anti-inflammatory like era started. But it started with, hey, I'm on the same team as my body. My body's not broken. My body needs TLC. And that mindset, once I started working with that functional medicine doctor, when we were like, I can't eat walnuts without being painfully bloated and what is going on? I know, random walnuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? But I was able to identify walnuts because of those practices.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about like allergy tests and all that? Do you think that's like helpful with like that, or like not really?
So food intolerance tests, I don't think are a good investment. And here's why. When we're talking about stress, when we're talking about intolerance to something, right? We have to consider biomarkers to allow us to see, hey, how tolerant are we to these foods? Now, most food intolerance tests take into consideration 2 of these biomarkers, IgG or IgE, right? The thing about these biomarkers is that they can be affected by other things other than food intolerance. For example, let's say you had a really crappy night's sleep, or you're fighting a cold, or you're having a really stressful day. Like if you take this food intolerance test around the holidays and the holidays are really stressful for you, babe, you're getting more of that holiday stress in your results than the food intolerance. Like, isn't that wild? And so that's why I feel like, or I know that when these mindful practices are actually more helpful, because you can better identify, hey, do you have a intolerance to something? And where does that intolerance lie? And with just repeating it over and over again, that's how you can identify those patterns. And that's what those are, that they're patterns. We just have to have enough patience and guidance to identify them.
Yeah. It's really hard, I think, and overwhelming to figure things out on your
100%.
especially not knowing like anything about like health. I feel like very, very few people even know about like autoimmune. Yeah. Like about like the sicknesses that we can actually have. Like one of the they don't even think about how food makes us feel.
Yeah.
You know, like in the moment, like it's not something that's natural to us to be like, I'm gonna eat an apple. I wonder how it's gonna make me feel. Or like,
Yeah.
you know, when you're going out to eat with like family and friends, you're just like, I'm gonna have these tacos. I'm not gonna think about how they make me feel, or like this milkshake, or I don't know, anything. You know, just anything in general. But like, yeah, it's not a natural thing.
That it's so true, because we in the moment, right? We have an emotional relationship with food, period. We're humans.
Yeah.
Our ancestors were nomads, which means that they risked their families' lives for food security. I'm sorry, that is the most emotional relationship to have with food ever, if you're willing to risk your life for it, right? It's one of the reasons why so many cultures have celebrations around food. It's an emotional thing. So
That is so true.
right?
Even holidays. Holidays are centered around food. Thanksgiving feasts, you know, like Christmas dinner. Like,
Exactly. There's so much joy. Who doesn't love making like Christmas cookies?
yeah.
There's so much joy to have around food. What can be so problematic is when we're like, oh, sorry, you can't have that because of X, Y, and Z. How freeing would it be to enjoy a cookie, then ask yourself, how does it make me feel?
Mm.
And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit tired after this cookie. Let's see if the next time I have a chocolate chip cookie that I feel tired.
Yeah.
Right? And then you notice that you're tired. Okay, great. Well, you probably wouldn't want to have the cookie before a job interview then.
Yeah.
You might want to save that time for a cookie when you're at home with your fiance watching a movie and you know that you're about to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is where we can essentially have a time and place for these foods as long as they don't instill pain.
Yeah.
Right? But that's how we can cultivate patterns. It's also how we can have a healthy relationship with our food and still support our healthful process.
Is that how you like find this balance that you have?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
like my next question. Like how, like to find that balance, like how can you?
Yeah, that's how you do it. And you give yourself space to be human. And what I say to my clients all the time, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, so you felt tired after a cookie. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. Let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Right? Do you think that this is something that you would want to have like often?
Yeah.
I love chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
I enjoy it with my family.
Yeah.
Great. Let's put this here.
Yeah.
We have boundaries. We have boundaries with people
Yeah.
all the time.
That's really good. Yeah.
Let's instill healthy boundaries around food so that we can enjoy them in the right environments and then at the right time. And that's what so many people are out here like chugging green juice, which is fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But if you want a bagel, right? Balance the bagel, babe.
Yeah.
You can have like wild caught salmon, good quality cream cheese, have some microgreens on top, spice that up.
Mm-hmm.
You have a more balanced bagel than you did if you just had a random bagel with butter or cream cheese.
Yeah.
And what I find is that clients, when we do that, let's say I've had many clients who like love their bagel and cream cheese. Eventually, when we're diversifying, they want something else.
Mm.
Because we're also diversifying their diet. It's like, oh, I think I really want an omelet.
Yeah.
Great. Now you have choices.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see how we're evolving? We're not restricting. And that's where I find the biggest fault in wellness culture right now with social media is like glorifying the restriction, glorifying the restraint.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody, I feel like makes everybody feel bad because it's like you're not up to par because you're not like buying certain things or like, yeah, not everything that you're eating is like perfect. It's,
Yeah. So what a horrible way to live. Very restrictive.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you put that standard on other people, you're going to be putting that standard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, like when we're talking about mental health, right? That's not a place where you're going to grow. It's going to be a place where you're like, I have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I am like showing that to the world. Let's say this is somebody who shares on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
That you're restraining yourself. And a lot of the times I find that the people who are sharing these things, they're not walking the talk that they're sharing.
Yeah.
And so how more awesome would it be if we were just like, hey, you're human. And like, this is how you can be a happier, healthier, more vibrant human that can get up in the morning and not worry about like body aches or flare-up symptoms that are crippling for so many people.
Yeah. And you're living like intentionally, intuitively.
Yeah.
So it's a much happier place to be.
Yes. And that's how like you can have like better sex with your partner. That's how you can like show up in your business with energy. That's how you can like go home for the holidays with your family and be present with them.
Yeah.
Right. And so even when we're talking about nutrition, right, it's so much bigger than that because our experience as human is like interconnected with other people.
Mm.
And the sad part is that many of these symptoms, autoimmune system, gut health symptoms, right, they can be isolating.
Mm-hmm.
And they can cause us to be disconnected for so many people. So how about we like change the script and we allow this path for interconnectedness, and that in itself, it's just healing for in so many ways.
Yeah. So, really good stuff. So how would you say our mental health and our like just overall health is like connected?
Oh my gosh. This is like one of my favorite topics. Because like probably 6 months ago, I've been talking more and more about how our brain is a digestive organ. And so based on the state of our brains will affect how we digest food. So that's all through the vagus nerve, right? A lot of people, if you've never heard of the vagus nerve before, it's essentially a big nerve that is connected from our digestive system, and it connects to our brain and our gut health. Our gut bacteria and our brain are actually talking all the time.
Yeah, all the time. They're like the same. Actually, this happened last night where we were talking. One of our friends is like in med school, and he was just saying how like your like gut digestive system is like your second brain.
Yes, there's so many neurons there. It's a whole separate, almost nervous system. And so this is how our mental health and our physical health are connected. It's quite literally is.
Yeah.
It's a direct connection.
Yeah.
They're like best friends. Yeah.
Insane.
It's wild and so cool. And it's also a place to be like, hey, what is my mental health? Right. And I firmly believe when we're talking about like gut health, digestion opens the door for gut health. If we're not digesting our food well, we can't be nourishing our gut bacteria and cannot be nourishing our body well. And so that first step is, hey, how can we have our brain support digestion, not hinder it? We live in a busy life, right? Stress, so many of us are living in chronic fight or flight. If you have anxiety, it's okay. Me too. I have to be mindful of it.
Yeah.
We have to be so mindful of it.
Yes. That was the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, like, because you have anxiety and it's like another thing. It's overwhelming. What do I do? What works for me? Like,
yes,
learning your triggers, learning what like helps you.
100%. And so many of us, and I did this, I still sometimes catch myself doing it, to be honest. I have to be mindful of it. We try to put new practices into high stress environments. So it's kind of like if you're having an argument with your partner, right? And like, oh, let me try this thing now. It's like, no, your brain's going to be, screw that. Yes.
That's kind of place. Our bodies are like abort this shit.
Exactly. Your brain's like, absolutely not, girlfriend. Like, this is a serious situation. Don't you see? So a really cool way to do this is to bring stress management practices into low stress environments. And what I find is really helpful is doing it around mealtime. So this allows us to support our mental health and directly support our digestion. And the easy way to do this is doing a deep diaphragmatic breath, 1 to 3, before you eat. And so a breath is essentially a physical symptom or a signal to the brain. Hey, you're safe. You have space. Nothing's chasing you.
Wow, I feel it.
What?
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is what.
So much.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's so good. I'm so happy to hear that. So yeah, so like when people say like, oh, breathe, right? That's not helpful.
it's not. It's like, I am breathing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't, right? And so what that's high stress. But when we bring into low stress, this is how we can essentially support our anxious minds to relax a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then now we're supporting our digestion. And when we do that, we're allowing our bodies to have more energy, more satisfaction, and honestly, more nourishment from the meal that we're eating. And so that's where, like, that's kind of an example of how our mental and physical health are so connected. They're best friends.
That's really great.
It's
Because I use that on the normal. So like the 3 breaths, like when I'm very anxious,
Mhm.
but like I never thought about that like before you eat
Yeah,
and like
it's
how that
fantastic.
can affect
It
your
changes.
mealtime.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
give it a try. Honestly,
Yeah.
let me know. Like,
Yeah.
give it a try.
No.
And I'm so excited for you to see how truly transformative this simple action step is.
Yeah.
I use it all the time with clients. It's like one of my go-tos.
Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
But when we're stressed and when we feel like crap,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like having body aches, having like heavy bloating, these things are going to activate us being like, hey, I'm not safe. I'm not good. I don't feel good. And we're going to be in a stress state. So even if we're not feeling great, this is a great practice to do in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and more of these like buffer low stress moments. Use it all the time as someone who is still navigates anxiety and is growing in that part of my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to like have mental health issues and then also have like health, like, like gut health, like, that's overwhelming almost.
yeah, it's for people with chronic illness, it's their everyday life.
Yeah. It's wild that people live like that. I had never actually like sit down and think like, yeah, that's like,
Truly the strongest people I've ever talked to.
yeah.
Pushing through. That's usually like when you're like, hey, how are you? Like, how do you get through these symptoms? I just push through it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, how? Like, I don't know. I just do.
It's like an everyday, every moment thing.
Yep. Waking up, not knowing how you're going to feel. It's exhausting. And usually it's hard for you to get good night's sleep too. So you're usually waking up exhausted. So when you're diagnosed with these type of conditions, you're like, hey, this is going to be the rest of your life. That's the projection. That's being spoken over you. And so if there's something that happens to the brain, you're like, this is my life.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, there's just so much like hope in the fact that these things are simple. They're strategic, but they're simple and they don't require a lot of energy. You just need a little bit of space to put it into practice and then consistency in that practice.
Yeah.
So
It's
so good.
So you are a business owner.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start your own business?
I started my health coach journey in 2019. And then I started my clinical practice in 2020. So we have like 2 different evolutions in the business. I started health coaching. Gosh, I feel like when I wanted to become a health coach, it wasn't even a thing. I literally vividly remember being in my father's kitchen being like, I want to help people support their lives naturally, but that doesn't exist. And this was probably 2015. Yeah, 2015.
Yeah.
Coaching wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Mental health wasn't even as special like a thing.
No. I then got my coaching. I found IN. I got my coaching degree through them. And I enjoyed the process. I just knew I needed more. I was like, there's more here. There's so much more here. So I decided to go get my master's degree, Saybrook University out in California. And I got my master's in integrative and functional nutrition. And that's kind of where I learned a lot of the science behind how your gut health is just honestly an epicenter. It's like the Washington, D.C. of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's so connected to your immune health and your mental health and how it really is such an overlooked resource when it comes to chronic illness and autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
So, and then in 2022, I got my license. I got married, and I bought a house in like the same month. And
Wow, that's a lot.
speaking of mental health. What do you recommend it? But, you know,
like,
we did it.
a good thing.
Yeah. Luckily, I passed my boards, right? We got married. It was wonderful. And the house was great. So, so we got through it. Now I have like a coaching and a clinical practice kind of combined in one. And yeah, we've just been on a journey ever since. I've worked with so many amazing people. I got mentored by so many amazing people. So it really is just like kind of like a journey that is ever evolving. I feel like I'm just getting started, and I've been doing this now for 2017 is when I actually started the coaching. So
Wow.
how old, what year is that? 2024? So
2024 now.
yeah, so like 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool though that you have that mindset of like,
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's important.
Mhm.
Like with everyone to always have that mindset of like, I'm just beginning.
Yeah.
Like even in relationships, like I know that's a big thing I learned with like, you know, like marriage and like relationships. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
so like you're always learning your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And also like you should always be learning yourself. Like, and, you know, it kind of gives yourself like, it helps you give yourself grace.
Yeah.
And like bring that humanness back to yourself that like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to always be this specific way. Like I can always like, I can evolve, I can go and give, and it gives you that space to do that, you know?
Yeah. You're not like, you're not, apart from being married, right? My mentor always tells me, hey, in business, you're not married to anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can always pivot. You can always change. And it's so, so true because I've pivoted so much.
Yeah.
And there is always this new beginning. I've been married now. I'm going to be celebrating my 2-year anniversary in January. And gosh, I feel like I learn something new about my husband every day.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
And growing and evolving together.
Yes.
You are the
Exactly. Not a good sign,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's where there's this openness of, hey, this is not a dead end. I'm growing. I can do hard things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I need to pivot, if I need to grow, if things need to change, or if things need to stay the same.
Yeah.
Right. There's that openness of being like, I got this.
Yeah. Well, often, I mean, I can speak for myself on this, where I feel like pivoting many times in my life, like that it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like you're taking step backwards.
For sure.
You know, so it's like you kind of doubt yourself and like think you should be somewhere else because this is changing and happening. But really, that step back can take you 5 steps forward.
Yeah.
You know, like for sure, when you look back, you're like, wow, that one step back literally propelled me. It helped me like go even faster to where I'm trying to.
Yeah. It's like
just wild. Yeah.
You know,
It's just wild because we don't think that in the moment. We were having this conversation earlier.
Yeah.
How, you know, we often think like we're failures almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
yeah.
I didn't envision this for my life, so it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't be here. Rather than accepting where you are and knowing that it's happening for a reason, you're going to end up where you're supposed to be always.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's like the curse of the unconventional path, but it's the reward that's just so much better. Is that you feel like you're lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
that's a big part of it too.
And then you're like, wait, oh my gosh, I'm me now. Like I've chosen this really difficult path. I shouldn't say really difficult path, but unconventional.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's not easy. I feel lost. That uncertainty is a lot. And then you're like, but you find yourself in these like pit stops and you're like, oh, but this is so good.
Yeah.
The potential is unlimited.
Yeah.
Unlimited. It feels like you're losing a part of your identity.
Yeah.
Until
because you kind of are.
Yeah, you are in a way. Yeah.
So much more.
Yeah. So much more.
Yeah. I think we have to become a little more okay with that.
Yeah.
With learning and evolving and learning a new version of ourselves because we constantly are meeting a new version of ourselves.
100%. And that's where I think that with autoimmune disease, like that's a part of the identity. Sometimes that's like hard to let go. Right? Kind of like how it's like, hey, I've done this career for so long. That's like who I am. That process is difficult. It takes so much time.
Yeah.
And it's so worth it. Because like you said, it's just when we meet ourselves and we grow within that and start to love ourselves and believe in ourselves. And when we believe in ourselves, we can show up and connect and love our husbands and love the people around us and be like, hey, I'm going to walk into a room and I know who I am.
Yeah.
Because I love myself.
It's the greatest power.
It's the greatest power ever.
Yeah.
And everybody is able to do that.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
Mm-hmm.
We're all created to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
We all have a light to shine.
Yes.
And it's just, that's where our mental health can, for our protection, right? And in that, you have to be mindful.
Yeah.
And then also chronic symptoms, Dan.
Yeah. So how do you feel now looking back at your old self and like seeing, like, when you look in the mirror now, how different is that? Like, how does that feel for you?
Oh man. It almost feels like, so it's been 10 years since I started that healing journey. That healing journey started in 2013. So October of 2013. Man, I feel like a different person, but I love that part of me. She's like, it's crazy because in those moments I felt so weak. I look back and I'm like, that is the strongest I ever was.
I hope that this podcast was helpful for you. Make sure that if you haven't already, since this is a new podcast when it comes to YouTube, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to this channel. We release podcasts every Tuesday. And if you know someone who has a connective tissue condition like scleroderma, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and more, feel free to share this episode with them. The truth is that hope is not very common when it comes to these types of diagnoses. And you never know how profound and powerful this message could be to someone who deeply, deeply needs it. I'll see you next time. Bye.